Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Helping Seniors Stay Connected Facilitated Idea Exchange. My name is Medora Benson with ICF, and I will be your host for this session. Next slide, please. Before we begin, I'm going to run through a few logistics. All attendees have been muted upon entry. Attendees can control their mute and unmute button by selecting the microphone button to the far left of your screen. When muted, the microphone will have a red line through it. When unmuted, the microphone will be green. During discussions, please turn on your camera and participate. To do so, please select the Start Video button located on the bottom of your screen next to the mute button. Please submit all technical and content-related questions via the chat box. Please note this webinar will be recorded and it will be posted to the HUD Exchange. Now, I'd like to turn it over to Ashley Vo with HUD. Ashley?
Hello everyone, and welcome back from break. Today is our last session for today. My name is Ashley Vo. I am a management analyst in our San Francisco Regional Office of HUD. And on the line with me, I have Ms. Drella Allen, who will introduce herself.
Good afternoon, everyone. Drella Allen, Program Analyst with HUD. Welcome.
And for today's interactive session, we've never done anything like this, but we're hoping to do this in a way to make up for the lack of being together in person. So an overview of today, we'll have presenters from AARP, Yonkers Housing Authority, and Innovative Housing Concept / Englewood Housing Authority. They'll start us off with a few short presentations, and at the end, we'll open it up for a discussion and Q&A. And it's encouraged that you all will unmute yourself to participate in the conversation or to engage via chat as well. And just a reminder that you should mute yourself if you're not speaking. And before we begin, we'll go ahead and start off by introducing our speakers for today. First of all, we have Paulo Narciso, who is the AARP Foundation's Vice President of New Product Program Development and Program Optimization, overseeing the Foundation's work developing and managing effective solutions for vulnerable older adults. In his role, he oversees the development and management of products and solutions that creates new economic opportunities, addresses social isolation and loneliness, and access public and private benefits for vulnerable older Americans. The solutions that AARP Foundation has developed have ranged from using AI, voice, and VR technologies to traditional in-person emergency relief programs that meet the immediate needs of older adults in crisis. Prior to AARP Foundation, Paulo was the CEO of a cloud health providing primary care physician access to underserved populations.
Dr. Denise Wesley is the owner of DR Wesley Consulting, Inc., an international management consulting firm, and serves as the compliance monitor for several housing authorities, including the Municipal Housing Authority for the City of Yonkers. Denise has worked extensively in the housing industry, law enforcement arena, and as a university professor. Mrs. Jessica Danny is a resident service coordinator with the Englewood Housing Authority, where she works with seniors and disabled tenants to help bring partnership and services on site to meet identified areas of need. Jessica is passionate about helping residents to age in place and to live a happy, safe life.
Thank you. And before we pass it on to our speakers, we actually have a couple of questions we would like to ask our audience today. So the first one that should appear on your screen is, what type of organization are you affiliated with? And the second question you'll find is, what percentage of your housing portfolio is for seniors? Thank you. So it looks like about 57% of you all are coming from a PHA, 10% from a tribe, 14% from the nonprofits, and 19% from other federal agencies. When it comes to what percentage of your housing portfolio is for seniors, we have 33%, that's between 0 to 25% of their portfolio, another 33% for those between 26 to 50% of their portfolio, and then 10% answered 51 to 75%, and lastly, 24% answered 76 to 100%. Thank you. And with that, I'll pass it on to Paolo to start us off. And then you are muted right now, Paolo.
Sorry about that. I lost that just for a second there.
No worries, we can hear you now.
Excellent, great. So thanks so much for having me. This is just a great privilege to have and to be with the rest of the speakers on this particular panel. I think what I want to do is just to cover some of the technology that we have implemented and just talk a little bit about them and share some of the relevance or the findings that we have from using the different programs and technologies that we've deployed, particularly for low-income senior housing facilities. The first solution that we deployed is a solution called Connected Communities, and that was a program where we deployed smart speakers, Alexas predominantly, and Google smart speakers across about 3,000 apartment units over the last 2 years. And the goal there, we enabled the speakers with skills that would allow for seniors to be able not only to learn how to use voice skills on products like Alexa and Google, but also to be able to help the seniors connect with each other through different applications, to be able to also connect with folks in their own residence and events that were happening within their own facilities, as well as outside of their facilities. The technology, as you know, with Alexa and with Google, allows you to turn on and off your lights and things of that nature if you wanted to connect those things together. So we wanted to measure specifically on that program. The outcomes that we were looking for was to see an improvement in social isolation using the Duke Social Support Index as a measurement for an improvement in social isolation. But we also wanted to measure the use of technology in general and what older adults were, particularly low-income seniors, were used to in these particular facilities. And that program is currently going on today. Now, obviously, there's challenges with programs, and some of those things I want to share is, they clearly needed, the facilities clearly needed internet connections to be able for this to be able to work. And then we also had the pandemic, as you all know. And so we had to pivot from trying to get folks to be able to go into live events to completely keep the connections with each other virtually. And then that's been a struggle, obviously, throughout this particular time for all of us. The good news is just some findings that I'm sharing. The oldest person that we've had on the program is 98 years old. So that tells you that it doesn't really matter how old you are. You can learn new technology and actually use it. The fun part about the program also is that in many cases it had older adults who had also older adult parents who were also living in different senior living facilities. So we had 68-year-olds teaching their parents who were in their 90s to be able to connect and use the technology. And one of the most heartwarming stories that we had is, especially during the pandemic, is a particular older adult had not seen their grandkid. And the grandkid's 11 years old, never seen a grandkid. The grandkid lived far away, and they were able to actually connect using an Amazon Echo device and see each other on the screen for the very first time. So I think there's just a lot of cool ways to be able to use technologies like voice. It's easier for older adults to navigate using voice versus trying to click on screens all the time. It's also leverageable with being able to connect it with other things like lighting and helping them turn on and off the lights and things of that nature, which one of the concerns we have is obviously fall prevention. So that's a nice outcome from this particular program. And then we did see an improvement in a person's social support index. About 53% of the folks that were in the program saw an improvement in their score after 6 months of using the product. So we did see some slight improvement in using the technology there and helping adults not only connect with each other, stay connected with the outside world, but also age in place and enjoy some of the fun things that you could do with Alexa and Google, including listening to music, having Alexa tell you a joke every single day, all the fun things that happen with those particular technologies. In fact, many times Alexa was renamed from Alexa to something else completely because they personalized the product. So it's just a finding that we had in the program. And the finding is we know that older adults can learn new technology. They need to obviously stay connected. We need strong bandwidth to be able to make that happen, but it's also important to provide content that is fun and exciting and useful for the older adults to be able to stay connected with the technology and to use the technology, as they moved on. The other technology we're trying out today is virtual reality. Virtual reality is obviously an emerging technology. We're seeing virtual reality used in particularly market residences, senior residences, so a little higher end residents than generally the population and the areas that we serve. And it allows for older adults to use virtual reality to explore the world, and a virtual world, obviously, and they can go on trips to London or to Paris and just do it all virtually. And it's fun to do that and to do it with everybody else in the room with you. So you're not just on your own, you actually see other people as you go. But the other cool thing about using virtual reality is you can also use it for stress release and for therapeutics, which has been deployed. We are testing those today in a product we launched called Alcove. And the product we have called Alcove. And it again is also something that we want to make sure connects with older adults. And the area that we're focused predominantly with these technologies is to, again, reduce social isolation and measure that there's an improvement in adult social isolation. As you know, social isolation affects nearly 1 in 4 older adults, and that was obviously before the COVID-19 pandemic. It became front and center during the pandemic that older adults needed to be able to connect. And it's important for us not just to provide, again, technology for the sake of technology, but to be able to also provide content that is meaningful, that's useful for them, and that's something that they can enjoy as well. There's no reason why an older adult can stream Netflix or anything else, any other streaming service if they wanted to, and still use all the technology to be able to do that. We're continuing to test virtual reality and seeing some really good positive results from it. A little too early to be able to tell what those results are, but we are seeing lots of improvement in quality of life and happiness scores, and then obviously trying to tie that back into the social support index for a real measurement at that point. We've deployed it to roughly about 160 seniors today, so very early on in our deployment of the technology at this point. The last thing that we did, just to share kind of a last technology we've deployed is a social isolation chatbot. And this one was completely surprising for us. We launched a chatbot, which is not a real person on the other end of a messenger communication with you, that would help you talk through some challenges you were having, be able to just be a companion for you, that you could literally talk about anything, food, music, but also about staying connected, allows you to be able to set goals so you can connect with family members that you may not have talked to before, give you the confidence to be able to make friends. We launched that product in March 13th of, what is it now? 2019 is when we launched that. So literally 3 days before we had to socially, we left our own offices and had to into quarantine. So the product was also meant to be able to get older adults to be able to connect with each other, not just in the virtual world, but in the physical world, to encourage people to volunteer and to meet each other and things of that nature. We had about 70,000 signups, very, very fast growth in less than 2 months, which is rather insane. But then we had to pivot that completely to be able to move the solutions to be able to just get people to talk to each other itself and to do things virtually, including volunteer virtually as well. So that was a nice pivot for us. But what we found is older adults, when they were told that this is not a real human, this is actually just an AI behind that's talking to you, still wanted to engage. About 70% of the folks that connected were over 50 and more low income, which is pretty interesting stats across the board. And this is from an app perspective, so far, the most successful product that we've had that has shown a bigger improvement in social isolation. We have roughly about 56% of the people after 6 months saying that scoring on their DSSI, the Duke Social Support Index, that they improve their social isolation scores. So again, it's surprising in many ways, chatting with a robot. But we see that obviously in movies today, but trying out the technology elsewhere and seeing some really good usage from older adults. Again, what strikes me as a learning is older adults love these technologies. It is a bit of a myth that they won't adopt new technologies. They adopt it very, very quickly. The onboarding may be a little bit more difficult in the beginning, but the also overriding learning that we have is none of this works without very good broadband and internet service, which is something we're still working on to make sure that we advocate for and develop programs that deliver internet service and strong broadband internet service to these communities and to keep the communities connected. And then to also make sure that we properly onboard and provide the right content for older adults to enjoy the technology and not just look at it as something that's relatively therapeutic. The last thing that you see on the screen here is a new project that we're doing with NORC. It's called the Social Isolation Map, and this is coming up on our platform called Connect to Effect. So it's connecttoeffect.org. It allows you to be able to see where in the country are folks, older adults, likely to be socially isolated, and you can drill into the map to find out exactly in your communities itself where that might be. And for us, it's just a way to be able to focus our partners and the great solutions that our partners develop for the older adults and to help them stay connected, to be able to visualize that, to be able to see what the measurements are, and to be able to see that in a map and visualize the data easily. This will continually be updated. And you can, as you can see on the left-hand side there, you can check to see how people are measuring social isolations and how they're engaging, what's their risk are for social isolation, and get the details of all of that as you drill into the map. So this is really more for our partners, all our collaborators out there, which I just looked at the chat. There are so many of you, which I'm so very thankful for. To be able to keep seniors connected and to improve social isolation is not just the job of AARP and the foundation. It's really all of us together working to be able to provide not just the infrastructure, the technology, the processes, and the people to make all of these things happen. And so very thankful for all the partners that are on this particular call and for allowing us to be able to do the work that we're able to do. And with that, I'll turn it over again.
Thank you. This is Denise Wesley for the Housing Authority for the City of Yonkers. And one of the things that we found as soon as we were named a portal agency by HUD for the Connect Homes USA, we decided that we were going to name 2 of our developments as target developments to test this on. So we selected a family development and a senior development. We found out immediately that the seniors had the greater need, especially during COVID, to stem the effects of the social isolation and just being at home and not able to be connected. So we signed and we went into a partnership with T-Mobile. One of the things that we found, though, was it just wasn't enough for the seniors to have tablets. Please pull up the next slide. It wasn't enough for the seniors to have tablets, but we needed someone to help them bridge the technology gap. And as the gentleman from AARP said, Paolo, we found that the seniors were very excited about this. They just needed someone to walk them through the front door. So we actually hired college seniors. We brought them on. 2 of them have now graduated, but to serve as tutors to assist with connecting our seniors. They were working with them virtually, and many of them also even came on site to the Housing Authority and said that they wanted to meet with them one-on-one, because even though we were trying to do it virtually in the beginning to connect them, it's kind of difficult to tell someone how to use the apparatus and how to use a computer, even a tablet, if you're not sitting in front of them oftentimes. So we found that we also needed to be able to do that. But the college seniors were fantastic. And the seniors were provided, our senior residents were provided with the T-Mobile tablet or computers upon request. Next slide, please. We found that many adults were nervous or apprehensive in the beginning about learning new technology, and many of them were isolated. But again, our solution was to assign the tutors with tablets, and they've done everything from creating social media accounts, which has connected them to family and friends throughout the world. We've had them download music to help stem the problems of social isolation, or just feeling that I can't connect with anybody because I'm homebound because of COVID or whatever, or even the thing with the social distancing, being in your apartment and being able to have access to concerts and background noise has really kept the seniors engaged. They were taught how to access games of interest, which many of them have said it improved their motor and their sensory skills. Also being able to log on to museums, any instructional classes. We actually have seniors that are learning a new language, also academic classes as well. And that went with the educational and enrichment classes. And many of the seniors wanted to go back into the workforce. They had never prepared a resume, and they definitely weren't sure how to do it online, but the tutors were able to connect them. Next slide. One of the greater needs for us was realizing that seniors have doctor's appointments. And oftentimes, particularly in cities like Yonkers, many older adults were traveling via public transportation to see their physicians, which is not an effective option. So we were able to have the tutors assist them with telemed appointments, health wellness apps, Mayo Clinic, MyFitnessPal, meditation, nutrition, and the wealth or the plethora of other apps that are there that have been able to assist them. And we found many of the seniors, unless they have to, do not want to visit their doctor's offices in person now, because they found that telemed is so useful and helpful for them. Next slide, please. Our success story, we had a 100-year-old senior who actually had been a tenant council rep for over 15 years. Her 100th birthday party, we conducted a virtual birthday party with her. You can see the picture of the tutor connecting her in her apartment. She connected with friends and family and from people all over the US. We actually probably had close to 75 people on the call with her, but she was able to have a full birthday party complete with entertainment, cake, gifts, and everything. So it's really, really worked out well. I think the beauty of it is the tutors were not only able to connect the senior residents with services, which was our linkages to services process, but they also became family members, many of them, to the seniors. And so, yes, they've connected the seniors, but they've also connected friendships and that. So we're very, very pleased with the process. And on that, I'll turn it over to the next person.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for sticking around to attend my presentation. My name is Jessica Diani, and I am the Resident Service Coordinator with Innovative Housing Concepts, also known as the Englewood Housing Authority. Next slide, please. So when we first took on this initiative with Connect Home, our first objective was to provide more internet options for our residents, more affordable internet options. Prior to the initiative, we had Comcast Internet Essentials. And then once we started with Connect Home, we had Starry come on site and set up the infrastructure they needed to in order to provide their internet services to our residents. And one way that we really kind of worked at getting their exposure and getting their name out there was having on-site presence. So they would go door to door with content information about Starry, about their program. And they would also do on-the-spot signups. Another way that we've really tried to get our residents connected as of recently is through the EBB benefit. So we really want to make sure our residents know that they are eligible for free internet, and Starry has really streamlined that process for them. So making it accessible, making sure that residents are aware of it. We do let our residents know about the EBB benefit through a monthly newsletter that we distribute to each door monthly. So they all are aware of it, and Starry does come on site to offer events. One way that Starry has really gained a strong rapport with our residents is by really focusing on events that they are interested in and that they would be interested in. So one thing that we did over the summer was a community gardening event where Starry provided the volunteers. They provided information about Starry as well, about their services, and they also could sign residents up on the spot for internet through Starry. As of recently, they have done a pumpkin palooza where they've had pumpkins that they distribute, just little things that are aimed towards the residents, things that they would like as a way to get their exposure. Next slide, please. Another way that we promoted internet and just kind of teaching the fundamentals of internet is through what we call the cafe style internet. So we provide every month we have computer lab hours, and there's 4 laptops that are available. Residents can come in, they can get one-on-one support from myself on how to use the internet, how to navigate it, any specific questions that they have, and just kind of get familiarized with the laptop and how to use it. And that is available for residents monthly during our computer lab hours. However, we do have internet that is available for residents at any time. So if they choose not to have internet in their apartment just because they're not comfortable with it, they can always use our cafe style internet. That again, they have the username, the password to, and is available to them 24/7. Next slide, please. So from there, the first part to Connect Home that we really worked towards was the internet and making sure they had options, affordable options for internet. From there, we worked towards devices and getting these tools in the hands of the residents. One way was through a laptop learner program. PCs for People provided 25 laptops at a very affordable cost to the Housing Authority. During the pandemic, we used a laptop loaner program to get the devices in the hands of residents. So they could use the laptops, get familiar with them, see if it's something that they were interested in, that they would actually use. And from there, we would help them actually purchase a laptop of their own. And these laptops, eventually, we would like to use for a mini full functioning computer lab. Second, we used the voice activated devices through AARP connected communities. And we did this through installing the devices in the residence apartment, giving them content on how to use it. And we found that this was a really good kind of gateway device for residents. Because it was voice activated, they didn't necessarily have to know how to use a computer or a tablet. And it was also a really great way to have some isolation intervention, especially during the pandemic. Residents love to use it for their music, to get their news, and even sometimes as a companion. They could ask Alexa to tell them a joke. It's kind of a way to stay connected during times of social isolation. Next slide, please. So some tools for visibility, ways in which we made sure residents knew about not only the internet, but also about some of the programs that we had going on. The first was a monthly newsletter, which is distributed to each resident, and it outlines some things that we have going on in the community, some programs that are being offered to residents. So it was really one of the biggest ways that we got word out on our Alexa Dots through the Connected Communities grant. We also make sure that they know about the EBB benefit through the newsletter. They know that they can get internet, the cost of their internet covered for the length of the benefit. And it's also how we let them know about the 24/7 cafe style internet. So they will have handy the password and the username so they can connect with no barriers, no issues. And lastly, as of recently, we've been incentivizing some of our events with gift cards, making sure we have some things that will actually get the residents down so that they can learn and become familiar with what we are offering. Next slide, please. So some of the future directions and some of the long-term goals that we have in place is a full functioning computer lab. As of now, to maintain social distancing and to limit the amount of residents we have in one space, we do only offer 4 computers or laptops to be used at a time. Eventually, we would like to use all 25 of our laptops for a fully functioning computer lab when it's safe and permissible. And with that, we have partnered with OATS, and we would, when permissible, like to have on-site classes so that OATS can deliver the kind of last leg of that digital equity initiative and making sure that they have the education around the devices and the internet. We are working towards surveying and assessing the level of interest in devices and what type of devices our residents really would be most interested in using. And from there, we will have an event with PCs for People, who had provided us with our 25 laptops for the computer lab, in getting laptops or whatever the identified preferred devices into the hands of residents so that they have it in their home, in their apartment. And so with PCs for People and Starry, we, after surveying the residents, will assess what the need is and organize an event where we would distribute these devices with PCs for People, and also with Starry, who has partnered with PCs for People in giving even more discounted internet. So that is what we have planned for the future. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
First off, a sincere thank you to each of our informative speakers for sharing all of their wonderful knowledge and, of course, those wonderful success stories. Now we've come to a point that we want to hear from you, the audience. Please place your questions in the chat box if you have any questions for any of the speakers on our panel.
Thank you. And it's also encouraged that you as the audience, you can also unmute yourself, and let's say maybe you're interested in putting together senior programming, but you're having challenges. This is the opportunity for you to speak up about them and potentially hear from our speakers on the line on strategies or ways that you can address it. And it sounds like everyone's a little bit shy today, so I'll go ahead and ask a question to our speakers. We had a question come in. So were the tablets given to you free, or was there a cost? This is a question for Paolo.
Yeah, so it depended on each of the properties. Most of the tablets that we deployed were given for free. The internet connection, in some cases, the client was not able to or didn't have internet access, and so we subsidized the internet access just for 6 months, some cases a year. But we did. We're fortunate enough to be able to provide a lot of the tablets and the Alexa devices for free, or we provided the grant to the housing authority or to the property to be able to purchase what they needed that was appropriate for their facility.
Thank you. And the next question we have is for Ms. Giustiani. Are Starry and Oats nationwide or New York based?
So Starry is available nationwide, but in specific locations that I don't know for sure, but they are available in multiple cities. And as far as Oats, they do have a very robust online website and program. As far as in-person classes, they are limited to, I want to say, the Denver metro area and also New York. I don't want to misspeak. There may be other cities, but they are limited in regards to their on-site classes that they provide.
Thank you. And then this next question is a general one from Thomas Bleeker. How does one navigate data ethics while distributing devices? In addition, what lessons from distributing tablets could you share?
Well, I can address some of that from the Housing Authority of Yonkers perspective. The individual tablets, we did not have the residents share. We provided each senior resident and also in our targeted developments with a tablet. We did state to them that the tablets were the property of the Housing Authority, but each resident was able to receive their own individual tablet.
And from our learning set at the foundation with Connected Communities, we actually tried two models. One was literally giving out the tablets or giving out the devices. The second one was more of a library concept where you could check out the devices. Just depended on which one worked for the specific facility. So you may want to try whichever one works. And sometimes it's a cost issue, right? The second part is that we assumed that people would just want the tablets. And that's actually not true. There's still a lot of convincing to do and to get older adults to want to accept it for many reasons. A distrust of what we were doing. That's something we just don't want to assume that just because we're giving something away, people should accept it. But we wanted to try to see, we wanted to make it fun. And we also wanted to make sure that when they receive the tablets, that there was follow-up training, very good training behind it, so that they would be able to, in fact, use it. It would have been preferred to do a lot of the training face-to-face, which I know Jess and Dr. Wesley did, and continue support. In many cases, we had to go virtual with the training because of the pandemic as well. But the learning for us is, don't just assume that just because you're giving it away, that people will just accept it. There's still a lot of convincing and support that's needed, with the product.
And I'm going to follow up on that too. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because automatically people assume that if you're giving a tablet to the seniors or anyone, that they would be very receptive. We're actually monitoring all of the usage reports from T-Mobile, and we're contacting the residents and letting them know. We started out with 4G on all of the tablets. Based on usage, we lowered it to 2G. And because we did have the tablets, T-Mobile, quote, gave us the tablets if we paid for the internet service. So we started out with like $19.99 for the 4G, and then went down to $9.99 for the 2G, but we're monitoring the usage reports, and that's been throughout the whole entire process. And if someone doesn't use their tablet for 3 months, we're reaching out to them saying, why are you not using the tablets? Are you not using it because you don't feel comfortable? We're providing tutors free of charge to you. We're paying for the tutors, but we're providing the tutors unlimited amount of hours to any resident that wants. But if they're not using the tablets, we're actually taking the tablets back. And we have a waiting list now of people that want the tablets, but not everyone was comfortable. And some people took tablets in the beginning and just said, I don't think this is something I want to do. So we found that also.
And I have to echo Paolo and Dr. Denise Wesley. It really, although it is free, it really does take persuading, especially with individuals who have no exposure to a product or the internet even, and don't have support. So although it does come with no charge, it still does take making sure that they're comfortable and some level of community outreach and engagement.
Thank you. And then I'm sorry, Jeller, could you ask the next question in the chat, please?
Yes. Was there a cost for tutoring from the college students?
Yes, there
You may have
was.
already answered.
Yes, there was.
Okay.
I looked at and then made inquiry as to what tutors were making that were college seniors, and we actually are paying them $22 an hour, up to 35 hours a week. Once you graduate from college, you can earn $25 an hour. But because I'm also a university professor, they're able to receive hours for the tutoring services, and they're able to satisfy their community service requirements. So we wanted to approach it. I attended college career fairs and then reached out to universities in the New York City area, basically to say we would offer 3 prongs. So one, like I said, it satisfies their community service requirement that many of the universities require. 2, they're able to get college credit actually for doing this. And then 3, we're paying them a stipend of $22 or $25 if they graduate. So it's not a free service.
Can any of the other speakers share anything about their experiences if they're using college students?
No, we did
If
not use
not,
college students. Yeah, no.
Thanks so much. Let me ask you, were the tablets received via a grant application?
Ours were not. We paid for well, technically, like I said, the tablets were free, but it's not free because there's a bill associated with the cost of the T-Mobile service to accompany each tablet. our not-for-profit affiliate decided that they were going to pay for the service for that. And we also use CARES Act money for it, so.
Thanks so much. Someone wants to know, would work study pay for this service? And I think they may mean the work study in regard to college students.
I'm not sure the universities that we reached out to didn't have that option. And also remember, when we first engaged our college seniors, many of them were not attending. They were attending the university, but they weren't on campus. They were actually taking online classes at home, because all of our schools pretty much in the New York area, even the colleges, they were working remotely. So I'm not sure if work study would have been an option, but we felt it was an attractive option by saying, again, it could satisfy the community service requirement at the university. They would receive a stipend, 22 or 25 if they graduated, up to 35 hours a week. And then also they could use it to count for college credit.
Thank you. Are there any grants available or funds available to build a small senior park area?
You know, we don't do this at the foundation. We don't actually have grants that are focused on parks or actual kind of physical spaces. But I would recommend that you check on the AARP website. There are grants that we've done around building health centers, or I shouldn't say health centers, but parks that have health equipment and outdoor health equipment and things of that nature as part of our livable communities work at AARP. So I would encourage looking at the website just to see if there are any more, because grants are obviously cyclical, but that is something that that AARP, not the foundation, has done in the past, and has done quite a bit of it.
Thank you so much for your response.
I also have a question. So, growing older means having to adapt to new social challenges and learning to use technologies. And this can be daunting for many of our senior residents. So I'm curious to hear about best practices when it comes to gauging your senior residents' interests, as well as ensuring that they come out and complete these senior programming that are being offered to them. How are you building trust with your senior residents?
So one way I found that really builds trust, builds rapport, is being consistent. So maybe one avenue of communication isn't being received, you're not getting a lot of interest, pivoting and making sure that you try different ways. And I know this was one theme that was brought up in the last one of the last presentations, but really meeting the resident where they're at. So if they aren't interested in one aspect of digital literacy or digital engagement, backing off and respecting that and seeing if there's some other areas that they are interested in. But just making sure that you're seeing where they're at. Another really big thing that I found that helps is incentivizing things. So whether it be food, whether it be a gift card, for like surveys or any kind of assessments that I'm looking for a high level of participation in, I always incentivize it with a gift card or entering a raffle for a gift card if they complete it. And also really just kind of driving home that it's the more information, the more data that I have, the more I can support further programming and services for them.
Thank you,
And we
Jess.
also have,
Just, oops, sorry. Go ahead,
oh,
Dr.
that's
West.
okay. We also have very, very active tenant councils at all of our properties, including the senior properties. And so we never stopped having our resident advisory board meetings. And on the resident advisory board are the tenant council presidents, even from the senior sites. So we continued to reach out from the very beginning with COVID and reaching out to the leaders within those communities, as well as service coordinators that were previously funded from the Ross grant. And we decided to continue the program after our Ross grant funds expired. We're still maintaining the service coordinators. So they have direct contact with all of the residents at the site, and they're able to continue the momentum. So our senior residents are very engaged because of that, but we're also incentivizing too, with whether it's grocery deliveries, grocery bags, gift cards or whatever, just to keep people engaged. But I do think the service coordinators assigned to the sites have definitely been a plus, because our service coordinators actually connect the tutors to the residents.
Well, it certainly sounds like funding requires some creativity if you live in a small city. Can each of the panelists share their views on this?
I think, as you stated so eloquently, it does require creative funding. I would look at, especially in smaller cities, because you may not have the same budgets. We have an ancillary not-for-profit that is there, but you can also look at other things in the community. I would look at the colleges. If you happen to have a university, I would look at other groups. Maybe there are community groups, fraternities, sororities, whatever that might happen to be there that might have an interest in assisting and helping with the housing authority. So you are going to have to be creative though.
One way that or one partnership or outlet that I found that can be supportive in helping with those grants are your county. So whatever county you live in, their human services department, or even a surrounding county, their human services department. But any organization that can support Block grants, they may be a good option.
Thank you. And I serve as the Regional ConnectHomeUSA lead for Region 9. And I do have a few communities where I would say about half or maybe more of their population consists of senior residents. So I'm constantly on the lookout for resources or programming that they can explore. And one thing that I came across is the Senior Planet licensing program. And it looks like this is through Older Adults Technology Services from AARP. Paula, would you be able to speak a bit about this?
Sure. I obviously can't fully speak for OATS. They are affiliate of AARP now. When we love having them as a new part of our enterprise. But the program at OATS is in fact it's a great program that helps any organization. Could be obviously a community. Access technology and help seniors access the technology. And it's obviously working with community-based organizations that will develop local trainers to be able to come and work with the community and to be able to build a curriculum to help older adults receive the tools they need, as well as the training they need to be able to use different types of technology. I believe the program is actually currently accepting applications. If I'm not mistaken, there are, if you'd like to listen to some, there's some sessions they're informal sessions that tell you about the program. I would go into OATS website. It's oats.org. And I know in October, every month, October, November, December, there's some informational sessions that they're conducting to just talk about this program to different communities, and then to obviously give you the opportunity to apply for this. And it's all free of charge, clearly, and it's open to any organization operating in the United States or any of the U.S. territory. So very much encourage folks that are interested to apply, organizations are interested to apply to this particular program. It is a pilot program that they're conducting, and we're looking forward to seeing great results and great participation in the program. And if there's follow-up questions, happy to answer as many as you'd like to ask.
At this moment, there's not another question. However, we want to take time to thank everyone for putting in the chat all the valuable information about specific programs and other organizations that may be able to help. We want to also encourage you, if you have that burning question in our last few minutes, we would love to help you get your answer. If not, I'm going to turn it back into the hands of Ashley Bowe. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dreller. And I did see that Brenda Majors did leave a comment in the chat. FWHA, Walmart, Target, other federal funds addressing elderly needs. Brenda, was this a question to the audience, or are you just listing sample funding sources that other communities can pursue?
Other funding sources that communities can pursue. I know Walmart will give a $500 grant for individuals who apply. I know a lot of the stores have funding opportunities, JCPenney's, Target, Walmart, and I think those are a lot of places individuals might not look towards. Mr. PAOLO, Polio, can you tell me again, what was that pilot program you were talking about?
Oh, it's called OATS. It's the OATS Senior Planet pilot for communities, and that's OATS website is oats.org.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
And I have also included a link to that pilot program in the chat. It's under oats.org/licensing. And then thank you, Jess, for including the Story Internet lookup link. And it looks like we are coming to an end for today's session. I want to, again, thank you all for attending. Thank you to the presenters for your time and for sharing all the knowledge and wealth and experience that you have. And we look forward to your attendance at day 2 of the 2021 Connect Home USA Virtual Summit. The topics for tomorrow will be on funding. So look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you, everyone.